Hi, I'm Miss Mastin here at Brookland Middle School, and this is my 6th grade social studies class. And today we're going to learn about how European explorers and Native Americans interacted in the New World. All right, we have been talking about European interactions, right? Can someone remind me, what are the 4 European countries that we've been talking about that came to the New World? Jaden, give me one. Portugal is one. What's another one? Caroline? Spain. Good. What is another one? Jaden? England. And what's our last one that we're missing, Emily? France. Right? So we're going to be talking about them, and we're going to be talking about Native Americans. Specifically, we're going to talk about how did they have conflicts, or how did they cooperate? Can someone remind me, what is a conflict? What is the definition of conflict? One of our vocab words. Caleb?
Problem.
A problem, right? A serious disagreement. What is cooperation? Does anyone remember? Shia? Yeah, working together. So we're going to read 8 stories today about if Native Americans and European explorers, are they getting along or are they fighting, pretty much. Okay, to read the directions on our page, it says, today you will be reading 8 stories about the way Native Americans and European explorers interacted with each other in the New World. Read and fill in the chart for each story. You must also decide what the cause of the conflict or cooperation is. Does anyone know what a cause is? What does it mean, a cause? What caused something? What does that mean?
The reason something happens.
The reason something happens. So you have to tell me the reason something happens as well. All right, the options are going to be in the word bank, and we'll do the first one together. All right, so our first story is called Beads and Beaver Skins, and it says, the American Indians loved the colorful beads the explorers showed them. They were willing to trade animal skins for beads. The French explorers were happy to get animal skins they could make a lot of money by sending the skins back to France. So let's think in our head, do we think they are getting along, cooperation, or do we think that this is a conflict? The first thing we need to do is we have to write the title of the story. Can someone tell me what's the title of this story? Naya? Perfect, Beads and Beaver Skins. So before we do anything, you need to write down the title of the story. That's always going to be the header. Whoops. So we should write Beads and Beaver Skins. Our next column says to circle the type of interaction. So we just read the story. We can think about it for a second. Do we think they were fighting with each other or were they getting along? Was this a cooperation or a conflict? Can someone raise their hand and tell me? Alejandro?
Cooperation.
Cooperation. Do we agree with Alejandro? Thumbs up if we do. Yeah, I agree. This is cooperation. Now we get to the cause. Our word bank says trade, competition for trade, crops and farming, cultural differences, new tools, land, diseases, and language differences. What do we think the cause of them cooperating in this are? What are they cooperating about? Jeremy? Trade, absolutely. Do we agree?
Yes.
Yeah, trade. So our cause will be trade. I'm always going to mark it out so I know that I used it because each will be used once. And I'm going to write trade. Mm-hmm. Make sure you put this right here, right? It's all in a row. Very good. So we just did the first one together. We read a story. We decided if they were working together, cooperating, or if they were fighting, a conflict. You then told me the cause. You are going to be doing this in your table groups, okay? I'm going to pass out the other 7 stories. One person is going to have to read out loud. Everyone will listen, and then you will discuss together, right? You will be cooperating. All right, I'm going to pass them out real quick. I have just passed out this paper with the stories. You're going to fill this chart in on your own. One person is going to be reading out loud. Then you are going to decide together, are they fighting or are they cooperating? And then you will decide the cause.
The Huron Indians had a good relationship with Maurice, the French trader. They traded the beaver skins for 2 metal knives, but another trader came along and offered these Indians 4 knives for the 3 beaver skins.
Did you do your first one? All right, so weapon, they working together? Is this cooperation or is this a conflict? What do you think, Jaden? Cooperation, do we agree? Yeah? Then what do we circle? There you go. Now you gotta decide the cause. Why are they cooperating? Or how are they getting along? Look at your word bank. You agree, Mason? I agree too. Nice. So make sure you write down and make sure you cross it out so you don't use it again. Yeah? So what do we decide, Trey? Cooperation or conflict?
Cooperation.
Nice.
Some of the English settlers disliked the Powhatan. The Powhatan didn't wear proper clothes. They only wore animal skins around their waist. The Indians never wore shoes. They braided feathers and shells into their hair. These settlers believed that the Powhatan were not real people.
Okay, so what we start off first, we write
the title
first,
which is Powhatan clothing.
right? This corporation.
This was way smaller.
What was that conflict about? Disease, absolutely. Right? Smallpox is a disease.
Didn't wear proper
Awesome, Jordan.
The woman's husband pulled the boy off his wife and threw him to the ground, thinking the boy was trying to hurt his wife. But the boy was only trying to get someone to help his little sister. She had been bitten by a snake.
The Indians never wore shoes. They braided feathers and shells into their hair. These settlers believed the Powhatan were not real people.
Good. So first thing we have to do is write down the title.
This?
Powhatan clothing. And then Caroline, was that them working together or is that a conflict?
Conflict.
For sure, right?
Language.
Okay, so now we're on this one.
Soon after the English settlers started the settlement of Jamestown, they ran out of food. The Powhatan Indians taught the English settlers how to grow crops so they would have enough food to survive.
Very good. So the first thing we have to do is write down the title. Right? So Dana, make sure you write down the title for this one. Which is? Oh, you're finishing cultural reference. Jose, make sure you write down the title. Jamestown.
So is this right here?
That's where you write the title. Jamestown. Very good.
It could be because they were teaching them how to farm.
They could not hunt animals with
Do you agree, Emily?
Yeah.
with bows and arrows.
Guess. So what do we think they were cooperating about?
some gym right now. I could go for some gym.
Yeah, you forgot to write the rest of the word.
Yeah, crop.
Could it be
So
this?
now you have to say, what was the reason they were cooperating? Was it land, crops and farms? I think crops and farms. Yeah, right? They told them.
Some of the English settlers disliked the Powhatan. The Powhatan didn't wear proper clothes. They only wore animal skin around their waist. The Indians never wore shoes. They braided feathers and shells into their hair. These settlers believed the Powhatan were not real people. So, that's a conflict? Yeah.
Do is English settlers right here. Ooh. Let's talk about what we read. All right, and then let's see if we got the right answers. If you get the wrong answer, please correct it, okay? The first one we're going to talk about is the Huron Indians. Can someone tell me what was this story about? Does anyone remember what happened in the Huron Indian story? Jeremy, what happened? Sanaya?
They were trading 2 knives for 3 beaver skins, and then another person came and traded four knives and for 3 beaver skins, and they wanted to trade with that trader first.
Perfect, right? So they were trading knives, but then someone sort of out-traded them, right? Said, I'll give you more for less. So was this a conflict or a cooperation? Can someone raise their hand and tell me? Did they get along? Did they work together? Or was this a conflict? Caleb?
Conflict.
This was a conflict. And what was the cause of this conflict? Can someone raise their hand and tell me, what were they fighting about? Shia, make sure we're listening. Yeah, Jaden? Competition for trade, right? They were competing for trading. Good. The next story we'll review is the smallpox story. So find where you wrote smallpox. Can someone tell me, what was this story about? Give me like a quick summary and maybe a sentence. What happened in this story that you read? Someone who's not Jeremy. Zoe? It's a conflict, right? But what happened in this story?
It was about how it was a village and it got smallpox and then a lot of people died.
Yeah, it was about a village who caught smallpox and that killed a lot of people. Good. So that was a conflict. And what was the cause of that conflict, Zoe? Diseases, right? Diseases. And we've learned a lot about diseases, and we read that about the Powhatan before, that 90% of Native Americans died because of diseases, right? The next story we'll talk about is the Powhatan boy. Can someone raise their hand and tell me the Powhatan boy? What happened with the Powhatan boy? Alejandra?
His sister got bit by a snake, so he tried to ask someone's wife
Mm-hmm.
if they can help him, but they didn't speak the same language.
Very good, right? They did not speak the same language. There's so many languages in Native American cultures. So was that a cooperation or a conflict, Alejandro? A conflict, right? And what was the cause of that conflict?
Language difference.
Very good. Language differences. They did not speak the same languages. That makes communication really hard, right?
Yes.
Okay. The next one we'll talk about is weapons and farm tools. Someone want to tell me what happened in this story? What was this little excerpt about? What happened here? Weapons and farm tools. Weapons and farm tools. Jennifer?
The American Indians were talking about how the English settlers had better tools than them.
Right, they had better tools. They had these metal tools they never heard about before. So was that a cooperation or a conflict? Cooperation. They were working together, right? They were trading. That was a cooperation over what? What was the cause of that? New tools. Good. New tools. Make sure you're checking your answer so if you get it wrong, you can fix it. The next one's Powhatan clothing. Can someone raise their hand and tell me a quick sentence about what happened in this reading? What was Powhatan clothing about? Shia, can you tell me what Powhatan clothing was about? What happened in that one? Yeah, the English settlers didn't like their clothing, and they thought really terribly about them, right? They thought their clothing was wrong. Okay, remember we learned that the English think that they are superior to the Native Americans? Is that a cooperation or a conflict? Emily? A conflict, absolutely. And what is that conflict about? You forgot Naya, help out. Cultural differences, right? They're cultural differences. Very good. All right, we'll talk about Jamestown next. Can someone raise their hand and tell me what happened with this Jamestown reading? What was the Jamestown reading about? Jaden? That they ran out of food, right? So was that a cooperation or a conflict? Conflict? Do we agree? No? Cooperation, right? So they ran out of food, which was definitely a conflict, but what did the Native Americans do to help? Jeremy? They taught the English how to farm, right? So the reason that they cooperated or worked together was because of farming, right? Crops are farming. And then the last one that we'll do is the English settlers. The English settlers. And we'll just speak about this one. So the English settlers, someone tell me what happened in the English settlers reading. Jaden?
So they started building on this piece of land, so people kicked on them.
Very good, right? They started building, then people started kicking them off their land. Is that a cooperation or a conflict? Conflict, right? If you got kicked off your land, you would not be happy. And the cause of that is, of course, land. Very good. I hope you enjoyed our lesson on cooperation and conflict between European explorers and Native Americans. Go Cubs!